we're coming down to the conclusion of the presentation fairly soon. I wanted to just mention a few things. The New York Cares, you may be familiar with DC Cares, New York Cares, hands-on. It's really event-based volunteering, a lot of what they're doing. And they had a challenge years ago, about 6 years ago. They were really not getting the people to take ownership and to volunteer. It's a different model than for us. It's getting people to volunteer with New York Cares and then go out and do projects with the nonprofits. So basically, they did a research project, and they said, how are we going to get more people to be leaders with us? And what they found was that it was through improving their marketing and their orientation, making it more engaging, making less hurdles to be involved, and providing more opportunities for graduated leadership development. They were actually able to have phenomenal returns. Email subscribers in a 3-year period went up 80%. The conversion to volunteers up 70%. Individual volunteering up 20%. More leaders. Amazing how they did that. If they looked at it if they tried to think like similarly, we talk about the different structures of the different levels of volunteering. So how do people come in? How do we move them from one level to the other? So their lesson was, we have the shoppers, the episodic, and we just continue moving people into higher levels of responsibility when they're interested in that. And it's worked. I think there's things that we can learn from that model that will really, really help as you think about leader volunteers, how to help people move up. It doesn't mean they can't begin to be, if you interview somebody and you really know what they're doing, that they can't go into that role immediately, but it usually doesn't work that way. Hospice Caring of Montgomery County. We actually have a member in the audience of Hospice Caring, and hopefully she'll say a few words about her model. So check this out, folks. 4 full-time staff, 4 part-time staff, 390 volunteers, 200 ongoing, 29,000 hours, the value of volunteer service over $700,000, agency budget. So the Hospice Caring is the non-medical helping people in times of need. An incredibly important and vital role. This organization is, while it has a staff, it realizes that leader volunteers play a key role. Now I'm just going to give an example of that. So for example, in one program alone, they've got over 100 people who are seeing families who are dealing with loss of a loved one or in that process. And those volunteers actually have another volunteer that they can get assistance and support from. And they have that volunteer is somebody who actually can then connect with staff. But they've done this throughout the whole organization in the sense of wherever they can tap volunteers, they're really doing a good job in making that. And I'm gonna ask Madeline to say a few words about that afterwards. So the leader volunteers, as you can see, they use volunteers, same thing, to raise money and really give the volunteers ownership. When you walk through the doors of this organization, it's like a home, and the volunteers, the staff, everybody's together. You really have no idea who is a volunteer, who's a staff person, and they want it that way. And the other thing is that they provide amazing training to volunteers and help them get to know them prior to plugging them up. So I think Jeanette of Hospice Caring said it right. With the right training and support, volunteers could take on positions of great responsibility and leadership. And I think we all forget that from time to time. Okay, I'm going to now do the recommendations. I'm just going to say a few words about each one, then we're going to have a couple minutes to talk. So create that culture that embraces volunteers. It takes time. My suggestion is start out with a few victories, a couple of pilot projects. Let the other staff members see that, hey, this is cool, I could use this. Make capacity building volunteers a part of the team. Give them that professional identity. Don't call them a volunteer if you can help it. That's not what they are. They are doing this or they're doing that. They have their business cards, they're going out, doing a variety of projects. but they're really not volunteers. That doesn't really mean anything. See today's volunteer as tomorrow's donor. Help the senior management to see that if they are not engaging volunteers well, it's really actually going to cost them down the line. Positive, you can definitely leverage that. Involve the business community. We'll learn more about that with Taproot. And ongoing volunteering. So not just the day of, get them involved on an ongoing basis and move forward on that. Appeal to the new breed of volunteer. We're talking about us, everybody here. The new breed of volunteer, we want to be involved, and I want to do something that matters to me, and I want to have dialogue, and I'm not just assigned to do an episodic event. There's a book called New Breed of Volunteers, very good. Faith community has been terrific in this area, by the way, of involving people. Invest in volunteer management. So it will take time and energy, but train and support staff. Dedicate a staff or two be involved in volunteering. And that could also be, of course, a volunteer as well, and write the money into the grants. There's that thing that's like trust but verify in nuclear arms control. Turn it around. So with volunteering, verify volunteer competency, then trust them. So work it that way so that our staff aren't burned and don't want to continue engaging volunteers. And then the other one, especially in this area, the gold mine in the Washington area, there are so many interns out there, people who can be utilized. I know you'll do a good job doing that, but they have the time and energy. Go for it. So that basically